In this video, you'll learn MikroTik router's first-time setup. Hi, I'm Ramtin, and this is the NetAdminHub channel. Here we post weekly videos about computers, networking, and tech. If you enjoy this kind of content, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. When you get a MikroTik router, it comes with some default settings. The default settings are designed so that when you connect an internet cable to port 1, the other ports and Wi-Fi get internet access. You don't need to change anything. Take a look. This is my RB951 MikroTik router. It has 5 LAN ports and 1 wireless interface. First, I power it on and connect to it. This is how a MikroTik router works by default. It's expected to have internet access without doing anything extra. Try pinging a public IP on the internet. As you can see, it replies, which means I do have internet access. Now let's open Winbox. If you're wondering what Winbox is, it's a software tool for managing and configuring MikroTik routers and servers. You can download it from the MikroTik website under the download section. It's just a few megabytes and doesn't need installation. You just run it. Alright, let's open Winbox. In the Neighbors tab, it automatically finds the device, showing both its MAC and IP address. When I click on its IP, I can log in as admin. No password needed. When I open it, a message shows up saying the router still has its default settings. I can go ahead with these settings and make changes later. It also suggests some next steps, but I don't need that. I'll just cancel the change password prompt. I'll zoom in a bit here so you can see that the IP addresses table already includes some default settings. And also, in the wireless section, it has already set the SSID, meaning the router is pre-configured. So if it's working, why start from scratch? Sometimes the defaults can limit us. It's not that we can't change them. We just prefer a full reset. We remove all configurations and set everything up from scratch. For example, we might want to set up load balancing on our network, or create a tunnel between MikroTik router and a server, or apply other custom settings. The default config is editable, but still, it's often better to wipe it clean and start fresh. So, let's begin. In this tutorial, we'll cover this scenario in 3 different cases. The first case is very similar to the default setup. We have a router that has internet access and acts as a DHCP server, assigning IP addresses to users. It's connected to port 1 of the MikroTik. We configure all ports for internet access. We'll cover the other cases later. Let's start by opening the system menu. Here I select Reset Config, check both Do Not Backup and No Default Config, then click Reset Configuration and confirm the action by clicking Yes. Now the MikroTik router will restart and boot up. But here's an important note. At this point, it will load the default configuration. To connect, the LAN cable must be connected. One end of the cable connected to port 2 on the router, and the other should be properly connected on the system. Wait for it to reboot. It will then appear again in the Winbox server list. Alright, let's refresh. Now the router shows up again, but there's no IP address since all the settings were reset. So now I can't connect using the old IP anymore. Instead, I select the router by its MAC address and connect through that. Same admin login and no password just like before. The first time you log in, it asks you to change admin password. So I'll do that now. Make sure to choose a strong one with uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols for better security. I'm entering the new password now, and from this point on, I'll need it to log in. First, I'll configure it to get an IP from the router, so I'll go to the DHCP Client menu. From the IP section, choose DHCP Client to continue. In this first tab, I click on Add. It asks which interface to use. I choose Ether 1. At this point, it shows that the request is being sent from port 1. And here's the command. We'll go over it briefly. I can enable Use Peer DNS to use the ISP's DNS, but I don't need that. So I turn it off and set a custom DNS instead. Use Peer NTP is also for configuring the router's time settings, which attempt to use the NTP server provided by the ISP. Even if we leave it enabled, we can still configure it manually later. The default setting exists to create a route for internet access. So, I click OK and wait a few seconds. The router then gets an IP address from the router. So the time is now set. MikroTik has received an IP from our router and is now connected to the internet. I want to configure this side so users get an IP from my router and then set up net to give them internet access. Alright, let's continue. First, I create a bridge and assign all the ports to it. So instead of configuring each port one by one, they apply the settings to a group. This means creating a bridge and giving it a name. It can include spaces if needed. For example, they might add a label to make it easier to find later. Then they continue by adding the second port and other interfaces one by one. Once the second port is added, our session may briefly disconnect, which is normal. The Winbox window should now be closed and reopened to connect again. So let's reconnect using the new password. So far they've added port 2, let's add other ports separately as well. And finally I added the wireless, so we bridged all the ports together. Now we are going to assign an IP to this bridge. Let's go to IP. Addresses add 192.168.51, and then I need to specify the subnet here with a prefix. If you're unsure what to enter, you can use the default class C subnet mask here. It's the same subnet we already know, 255.255.255.0. On which interface? On bridge 1, which was just created. At this point, our router now has an IP assigned for users on Ether 2, Ether 3, and wireless. The next step is to enable the DHCP server so it can assign IP addresses to users automatically. Go to the IP menu, then DHCP Server, and click on the DHCP Setup button. It asks for interface. We select bridge 1, right? Click Next, and it will automatically detect the address space and the DHCP network gateway. Here, it also assigns an IP pool by default. If you want, it can allocate IPs from 2 to 254. I'll leave it as is. In Linux-based operating systems, IPs are usually assigned from the end of the range. We'll see this together now. Click Next, and it asks for the DNS server. The first address shown is Google's public DNS. I recommend using Google's DNS, but you can also enter another valid one, like 4.2.2.4. You can see it here, so you can keep it or replace it with your preferred DNS. I click Next. Least time is the amount of time that an IP address stays reserved for a device in network. The default is 10 minutes. I change it, for example, to 4 days. It's 96 hours. I click Next, and that's it. From now on, MikroTik will assign IP addresses to all devices in the network. It is expected that this laptop will also receive an IP from MikroTik. But since it might take a bit of time, let's check it using the command prompt. Look here. If we check using the ipconfig command, you'll see it hasn't received any IP. When a system gets this kind of IP, called an APIPA address, it means it's waiting for a DHCP response, but nothing has been assigned yet. So we run ipconfig/renew, wait a few seconds, and now the system receives an IP. My MikroTik has assigned 254 to this laptop, and the subnet is one we're already familiar with. Also, the default gateway is the MikroTik's IP address. So let's proceed with the setup. There's just one more step. Now we need to configure NAT, so user traffic can be routed to the public network. In other words, to the internet. Let's open the IP menu, go to Firewall, and create the NAT rule. In the General tab, I'll choose Source NAT, and under the Action tab, I'll select Masquerade. Then Apply so I can see bytes and packet, whether my system is connected to internet or not. Now you can see that traffic is being routed. Or alternatively, I can open a terminal and run a ping test to a public IP. So now the system has internet access. One more thing remains, setting up Wi-Fi. Right now it's disabled, so it doesn't show up here. That's because the wireless interface is turned off. I open Winbox, go to the wireless menu, and first check that the card is disabled. I enable it, then I open it. Next I go into wireless settings. By default it's set to station, but we need access point mode. So I select AEM-P bridge. For the bands, I select this option to use all supported frequency ranges. For the channel width, I choose the available value here. For the frequency, these are the options we can pick from. I've already made a video about Wi-Fi optimization where I explain the best settings. I'll leave the link in the description. But for now, I'm just going to pick a frequency. If we want to choose the best frequency, we can use Wi-Fi Analyzer or similar software. I set the SSID to any name I like. This is what users will look for when connecting. I disable WPS to improve security. For the country setting, I pick one that offers good compatibility and follows frequency standards, like the United Kingdom. Then I apply the settings. Now Wi-Fi is active and I can connect to it here. I refresh the wireless list on my laptop, and now the Wi-Fi network shows up, but it still doesn't have a password. So I open the security profile settings. There's a default profile already. I open that. I set the mode to dynamic keys and check the required options. I type in the wireless password twice. It has to be at least 8 characters long. If you enter it incorrectly, for example with too few characters, you'll see that the status here stays invalid. So the password is set. Now, users can connect to Wi-Fi too. You'll notice a lock icon has appeared next to the network name, showing that it's now password protected. I go ahead and enter the same password to connect. Then I connect to it. I can also check the registration section to see whether the device is already connected to Wi-Fi or still waiting to connect. Let's check what's password we set for the wireless. From the settings, I unchecked the password field. We had set it from 1 to 8. Now let's forget the Wi-Fi network once and see if that helps fix the issue. If the wireless profile is still saved, we should delete it since it's no longer valid. Now enter the password again and make sure it's correct. And yes, that looks right. It might also prompt you for confirmation. It's expected to see it listed here. Let's check. You can see my MAC address and computer name. Now I can open the terminal and run the ipconfig command to check the IP address. And here, I can see that along with the IP received from MikroTik through the relay, I've also been assigned this IP on the wireless network. As mentioned earlier, it assigns IP starting from the end. First it gave out 2154 and then 253. So up to this point, everything is set. There are just 2 more things left to do. Securing MikroTik is always a good idea, and it makes sense to add some basic protection. The main security settings are located in the IP menu under Firewall inside the Filter tab. Because MikroTik's firewall settings are a bit advanced, we won't cover them in this video. We'll just apply some basic security settings in the IP services menu. These services are generally not required for our setup. Most of these services are used to connect to and manage the router. So I select them, disable the unnecessary ones, and change the default access ports. For example, I update the Winbox port from 8291 to 8292, and change the WW port to 8080. Now, if I close Winbox and open it again, it should reconnect without any issue. Since the settings were correct, the connection was successful. But now, if someone tries to connect using the IP, it won't be accessible anymore. Unless I enter the correct port set earlier, access won't work. Now, I've successfully opened the configuration again. Web access isn't available in the usual way. So if I want to reach the router's web interface, I need to include port 8080 along with the IP. That gives me access to the config page. One last point remains. Here, you need to right-click on this bar. Click on Add Time and Add Date. This is what we were talking about. The system's time and date are incorrect. Why? Because MikroTik doesn't have a BIOS battery to keep the time settings stored. This is the case with most of its routers. MikroTik expects a server to be introduced so it can sync itself. In the NTP section, you mentioned it's trying but failing to do so. So we take control and go to terminal to ping the Windows time server. We ping time.windows.com, and once we get a response, we copy and use it. Go to the System menu and enter the NTP client. Enable it and paste our NTP server here. Apply the changes and wait for it to synchronize. You can see the result up here. The system date has been updated. You can see that the system date is now updated. But the time is incorrect, and that's because of the wrong time zone. I go to the System menu under the Clock submenu. Here I set the time zone to valid. Now when I apply it, the router will sync and the time will be correct. As we mentioned, accurate time is crucial. If there's an issue later and I need to check the logs, an incorrect date and time could make it harder to determine when the event happened and take the right steps to fix it. Well, there's one more thing we can do. The device identity or device name is still set to MikroTik's default. I can go to the System menu, then Identity, and assign a custom name so I can easily find it later. For example, if you have 3 routers, you could name them Router 1, Router 2, and Router 3. This will show up at the top. Alright, let's continue. That was the first case. The second case is to set this device as the main router, meaning it will have internet access, but its DHCP server will be disabled. In other words, MikroTik shouldn't automatically assign an IP. We need to manually set an IP on this router and create a route to forward traffic to the internet. By default, this device's IP is like 192.168.1.1 or something like that. In general, the correct approach is to obtain the IP from a reliable source. For example, the person who configured the device should consistently assign a specific IP, saying, I'm assigning you 192.168.3.10. Now route your traffic to device 192.168.3.1. After that, a route should be created to direct traffic to, for example, 192.168.3.1, which is the device's IP. Now, I need to go into the router, use these 2 IP, and configure the settings. So I'll go into the IP DHCP menu, and delete everything. Alright, it's been cleared. Then they go to the IP addresses menu and add a new entry or assign an IP. The first entry is 192.168.3.100 with a subnet mask of /24. After that, click Apply. Now, I need to write a route to direct traffic towards the main router for internet access. This is done under the IP menu in the route submenu. I'm going to leave this first field untouched. These 4 zeros actually mean everything. We're actually going to tell MikroTik that anyone who wants to go anywhere in the world can send it to my upper router's IP address 192.168.3.1. Let's apply, and OK. Now let's check internet connection again. Let's ping Google DNS server. So the internet connection is now established this way as well. Let's move on to the third case. The third case is that my primary connection should no longer go through this router. It is set on bridge mode. In this case, when we configure the router to bridge mode, its DHCP server functionality becomes irrelevant. We can work with it without needing it to act as a DHCP server, and we can connect directly to it via MAC address. What does the bridge do in this setup? It establishes a direct link between the service provider's network and our router. MikroTik is the one managing the connection. The bridge itself doesn't make any decisions. It simply connects the network on one side, such as the ISP or telecom provider, to our network. My router automatically forwards traffic through the bridge and connects itself. This setup essentially allows for more centralized network management. If our router were connected directly to the internet without the bridge, it would be a different situation. For this setup, I've connected the routers to the shuttle ADSL modem and configured a DSL router in bridge mode. I also want to connect to it using MikroTik. First, I'll delete my IP. I go to the IP menu and remove the route, which was the default route I had. Then, in the IP address menu on the MikroTik, I remove the IP that was previously set. Now, the situation is the same. We still don't have internet. I'm not sure why the link keeps disconnecting. I need it, but let's leave it open for now and see what happens. Now I want to set up a PPPoE client on the router so it can connect to the ISP network and as a result, the internet. Since this PPP method doesn't require a static IP to connect, there's no need to assign one here. Since the PPPoE protocol uses MAC addresses, it no longer depends on IP addresses. Just the IP we assigned on the bridge is enough. Let's go to the PPP menu. I select the PPPoE scan option, start a new search, and it begins scanning automatically. It detects the ISP's PPPoE server and finds it. Let's check the connection. Yes. Now you can see that it's found the MAC address of the ISP's PPPoE server and its AC name. I hit OK. I'll close it. Now I just need to create a PPPoE client. I go to the same menu and select the server interface. I select the PPPoE client option. On the same Ether1, I configure the dial-out settings. I only need to enter the username and password provided by ISP here. Okay, here we also have the Use Peer DNS option. It shows that I can use ISP DNS. I leave the default route option checked, so it automatically sets the default route. I click Apply, and now I just have to wait for the connection to be established. The connection is taking a bit longer. Honestly, I'm not very satisfied with this ISP's internet, but if there's an issue on our MikroTik side, I can check the log here. Now the time and date are correct, and I'm just waiting for the connection to be established. Since the connection hasn't been established yet, I'll disable it and then enable it again. Well, since the connection wasn't successfully established, I'll turn the DSL router off and on once. Maybe the issue lies on the ADSL router side. It's unclear. Let's see if this fixes the problem and whether our ADSL connection is established or not. I'm not sure what was the issue. Now you can see that the status shows as connected. Let's also check the status in the MikroTik log. I can see the IP that ISP assigned to us. This is the IP provided by ISP, and we can see it here. Now I'll go back and test the ping again. I can see that the ping is working now, and I have a stable internet connection. And that's it. There's nothing more to discuss here. Let's move on and continue. So, this was the basic setup of a MikroTik router. The common methods for connecting to the internet on a MikroTik router are exactly what we've just covered. Either obtaining an IP via DHCP, setting a static IP, or using a PPPoE client. That's it. Thanks for watching the video. This is Ramtin. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, I'd really appreciate it if you did. It helps me create more and better videos.